Okay.
Like with an actual thermal imaging camera, not a phone app. Like this is a FLIR Pro 1. Firemen and mechanics actually use this on the daily. Should be able to see me in there. I'm orange, red, and yellow. That means I'm the warmest thing inside the picture. Okay. So everything around me should be somewhat blue or black, kind of take me out. Those are your colder spots. Blue and black is the coldest, and then white will be your hottest. So the cool thing about this is we're looking for those blue or black spots, stuff like this, to start moving or taking shape on its own. Okay. And that way we can test it a little bit further, because I have other tools that can test if it's something man-made or something from supernatural worlds. Right. So we are recording this entire thing with this with this camera. So tomorrow morning, we're going to do a couple of starts and stops. So Ben, you're going to be handling this guy. Okay. I'll give you the starts and stops. We're recording now, so that way you at least have the tutorial at the beginning. Sure. There's a blue dot on your screen as well that's giving you the coldest point in the frame at that moment. So it's going to bounce around all night long. You also have a little cheat sheet right here, which is the bar. The blue dot will be in your video, but the bar will not be. The bar gives you the highest temperature and the lowest temperature. Okay. It's kind of an in-the-moment type cheat sheet only. Sure. So, but again, you're going to hold it horizontal just like this all night, keeping this wire on your left-hand side. Mm-hmm. So this is your start and stop button. It's already recording, like I said.
Just keep it on.
Just keep it on until I tell you to go ahead and shut it off. Sure. What I will tell you is that people do not like their cars being filmed. Okay. They don't know what we're doing out here. So
right.
Just kind of keep that in mind. We're going to be in some spaces where there'll be parked cars. Okay. And if people are going to their cars, you're just going to go the other way. Okay. And not act like you're being a cameraman.
Right. Yeah.
So you're not making YouTube videos. Okay. So you're going to be using a spirit box. So I'm going to explain how that works. Because I'm going to be using one as well, just because we have a smaller group. And I want to make sure you get as much data as possible. Okay. So I'm also recording this through regular audio. You'll see a recorder on my bag when I put it on. Okay. That stays on me for a couple of reasons. So the first reason is because I'm going to be taking you to spaces that other tours won't take you to. So if you've been somewhere with another tour, this is going to be weird stuff that you're going to need the stories for, because you guys are going through the data. Yep. The second part of that is to listen for EVPs. That's electronic voice phenomenon, voices you can't hear with your own ears. So if you hear somebody's voice in the background as I'm talking, obviously you're going to want to let me know what that is. I don't listen to the regular audio, so that way if you find something, you get in touch with me somehow. I'll give you my contact info before we leave, and you let me know what you found, and I'll let you know if it's legit or not. Now, spirit boxes. So spirit boxes are a way for us to communicate with the dead. This is going to sweep through all of the FM radio stations at a very fast rate. Okay. I'm going to obviously give you a set of earbuds. These are all brand new, and I don't want them back because earwax is gross. So with that, it's basically going to sound like this in your ear. Okay. You're going to control the volume so that only you can hear it. The cool thing is that you're going to get the entire recording back tomorrow morning. Now, what are you listening for? I'm listening for song lyrics, DJs, and commercials. These are slowed down on purpose. On TV, they give you just white noise. Yeah. Right? So with that, they're trying to give you disembodied voices. That's not the only way to use one of these. However, disembodied voices have come through on my tours. They're just very rare. I'll be honest, as much investigating as I do, I only get about 4 disembodied voices, meaning it's not a song lyric or a DJ, per year. So I only get about 4, maybe 5 that I can yes, that's a definitive. Okay. But if you hear any of those song lyrics, DJs, or commercials that you can actually make out what they're saying, let us know. Okay. I'll write them down. But we're also going to have the full recording, so you're going to get that full recording back tomorrow morning. Most people just listen to this with just one ear in, so that way you can hear me as well. Yep. Your volume button is right here. It's a wheel. It's not the button. So you're going to control the volume of what goes in your own ear. Okay. Is it okay if I put it in my pocket? Yeah, have at it. Because all the buttons are already preset except for the volume. You just need to be able to control the volume.
I gotta click the static, right? Is what I want to hear?
Yeah, you're gonna hear static as it's going through the stations, but if a song lyric or DJ comes through and you can hear what they're saying, let me know what it is, and I have a little notepad that I keep track of everything with. Okay. So just let me know what you hear. Gotcha. I'm gonna keep one of these on the outside of my bag. This is pretty standard. It's an an EMF meter. So it's going to measure electromagnetic fields. So if it starts going off, you guys will probably be able to see it before I do, because it's going to be in the side pocket. Gotcha. So just kind of let me know what you see out of that guy. The last spirit box is the one I'm going to keep in my pocket, and I'll show you how it works real quick.
This might be a dumb question, but would I be able to hear my grandma?
It's a possibility.
Yeah?
I've had people come through that you guys brought with you before. This is the real deal. This shit ain't TV.
Yeah.
Stop. If I hear my grandma, I'll cry. She died a couple years ago. I think I'll cry.
Just give me grandma's first name.
Her name is Judith.
Judith. Okay.
Yeah.
That's all I want to know.
Okay, thank you. That'd be super cool, and I think I'll cry.
So, this Spirit Box is a phone app, unlike the real camera that you're using. So this app is going to give us words from time to time where those 3 dots are right there. So it's going to save all those words into a list with timestamps on them. My last tour, they only had 62 terms. That's a little bit light. I'm going to clear them out so that you guys can start off fresh.
Perfect.
80% of what comes out of this thing is bullshit. Doesn't mean anything.
Okay.
It's the other 20%. Here's where things get real for you guys. When I give you your data back tomorrow, if something here is relevant or something you heard is relevant, I'll tell you why it's relevant, especially to our space, the location, a person in history, or one of us, and I'll give you the link to verify my info.
Okay.
So that way you're always going to have to go back and like, oh shit, he did say that about that person. So again, 80% of this is BS. Doesn't mean anything.
Okay.
So this kind of stays in my front pocket all night long. I'll check it from time to time to kind of see where we're at with things. But I'm more going to be interested in like what you're finding and what you're finding. So, and of course, if the K2 starts going off, then we obviously need to test a few more things.
Okay.
So, you okay?
Yep.
How's that shot hitting you?
Hitting me?
Yeah.
I'd be a little bit.
It's okay. We're going to walk it off a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect.
So, let's start here. This is reason why we start here, and obviously out of the way of all the other tours, is because I like to talk about Big John's. It's kind of a heated warning.
Okay.
So Big John's, this place was named after a football player. His name was Big John Kennedy. He played for the 1947 New York Giants. This was his place. He used to sit in the back of the bar, and he used to tell the bartender if the cadets coming in from the Citadel, if they were old enough to drink or not. One night, 2 guys come in, they're not old enough to drink. He's a bartender, throw them out. They leave pretty pissed off, and they come back the next night, and they try to steal the cash register from the front of the bar. John sees what's happening. He gets up from the bar and just starts pounding these guys into the floor, just beating the hell out of them. A couple of shots go off. John gets hit in the neck, and the bullet lands in the wall.
Oh.
Yeah. John, after being shot, gets up, goes back to the bar, tells the bartender to get him another beer, get the 2 guys on the floor in an ambulance. The funny thing about that story is nobody died. Secondly, what's haunting the place is the bullet hole. It's allegedly still here. Even after the renovations of them returning it into Big John's, I don't know if the bullet hole is still there or not, but Big John's blood is in the building. So people that sit in the front of the bar tend to get a little queasy, nauseous, or headache. I always ask my guests, if you feel any of those symptoms, I need to know immediately, so that way we can get the group to safety. So we'll move, obviously, the 3 of us together to get the other person to safety. When I have my bigger groups, obviously, we move everybody. So I'm not going to say that people haven't passed out from this tour in the past. So literally, that's probably the scariest thing I will tell you all night, is that you can be affected. Granted, we have some paranormal activity.
Okay.
Okay, so let's talk about something a little happier that's not our own health. Same building. We had a big earthquake here in 1886. It's a big one for us because we're on the East Coast and we're not supposed to have earthquakes. Piece of the mantling in the middle of the building, it also wraps around the front. So a piece of it broke off, struck somebody in the back of the head, and killed them. And they say you could see his ghost in the middle of East Bay Street in the middle of the night. I say apparently and allegedly a lot with that because I don't have any proof. It's just a great segue so nobody thinks about getting sick on the tour. So, you guys ready to go ghost hunting?
Yeah.
Are you hearing anything?
No, I'm not actually.
Do you have the volume down?
I think it's up.
Okay.
I think it's good. I hear static.
Okay.
Is that a good sign?
Let's go ahead and pull it out. I want to make sure the sweeping is still going.
I still hear it, if that helps you.
Yep, you're still good.
Okay.
All right, let's do this.
This thing is kind of cool. I actually know this thing is real because I've seen it on our firefighters.
I don't hear anything.
This thing is kind of cool.
What's going to be cool about tonight is the fact that it's January. It's a little chilly for us.
Yeah.
We're going to have the whole city to ourselves.
Yeah, right.
So we're going to stop here for a minute. This is, again, imagine if I have my full group of 10 people. I normally have several spirit boxes out, several different types of cameras. This is kind of a training area.
Okay.
So this is the big red barn where we keep the horses for the carriage rides. So you guys actually came down pretty far on your bike.
Yeah.
I saw, and I was like, oh, are they turning around? Is that my party?
Yeah.
So forth and so on. the horses are inside and they can't hear us, which is part of the reason why we use earbuds on the spirit boxes now, because the horses don't like the white noise. They like to kick the metal wall and scare the bejesus out of all of us. So, the only history here is really simple. I kept it simple on purpose so that way we can actually learn more about the devices. This is the same red barn where we held horses that delivered milk and eggs to the residents of Charleston. That's the history. That's it. 1860s to 1920s, roughly.
Okay.
Spirit boxes, this is not television. Everybody wants to ask, is somebody here?
Yeah.
No, we don't. Because if somebody answers no, that means somebody's here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we just stay away from yes or no questions all night long, including with the spirit box I'm holding.
Okay.
What's funny is it says momentum. It's weird. I don't think I've ever seen that word. I've been using this app forever. But anyway, so back to spirit boxes. We're going to ask questions here as we walk slowly through here of answers you already know.
Okay.
For example, if somebody's here, tell me what color the big red barn is, right? So obviously you're listening for the color red. I'll be looking for the color red. But let's say the color red isn't in the vocabulary of whatever DJ or song lyric you're hearing.
Okay.
Fire truck, blood, heart. Those
Okay.
are three things that are specifically red.
Okay.
I did have the word cardinal show up a few weeks ago, which I was
Okay.
like, oh, okay, that's a new
Cool,
one.
that's a new.
That's cool.
So again, that would be an acceptable answer.
Okay.
However, most of the night we're going to be dealing with, because we're going to be talking about real history. These people all have the same names. Lots of Georges, Charleses,
Yeah.
Elizas, Johns. We need to know who the hell we're talking to.
Yep.
So what I like to do is put two clues together, if not more. So,
Okay.
for example, if you hear the number 40 on your spirit box, and I have the word art on mine, Art Faircloth was number 40 on Big John's team. Do you see how those kind of have to mesh together for me to
Yeah.
be able to put the clues together? So a lot of times you'll hear me say secondary clue.
Okay.
Some of the stuff might be relevant, but without a secondary clue, it's almost considered a coincidence.
Okay.
So if we have too many coincidences related to the same story or space, probably not a coincidence.
Okay.
So that's kind of how I look at things as we go through this. As far as your thermal imaging camera, it's going to be difficult with a couple of things. For a smaller party like this, you want to try to keep somebody in view. The reason why is because we're going to be the warmest thing out here. Obviously, when somebody is warmer in there, you're going to have an array of color, which is going to make it a lot easier to see those cold spots forming and moving on their own. The other thing you want to try to do is keep the sky out of view. The reason for that is because that measures surfaces only. There's no surface on the sky. The blue dot will automatically default to the sky if there's nothing there to measure, because it's going to be the coldest thing. Sorry, that bat caught my eye. So it's going to be a very interesting night. So, but with this space, we're going to walk slowly through it, and then we're going to deep dive into some real history instead of just football players and ponies. I will always give you key words, especially with you listening to a spirit box. I will always slow down on keywords. Over
Okay.
there, it was 1947, New York Giants, Big John, and anything relatable to a bar.
Okay.
Do I get a lot of football terms? I do. A lot of football games happen at the same time of my tour, so I almost have to discount that automatically.
Okay.
So we'll kind of see how this goes. Have you heard anything yet?
No,
I know
I
you've been
haven't.
super focused on me.
No.
So, again,
It's just been static in my ears so far.
okay. Again, any voices at all. I don't care if it's a song lyric or DJ.
Okay.
All right, let's walk slowly and see what kind of comes up out of either spirit box.
Should I be paying attention to this?
You can. Again, you could just be a cameraman all night and just listen to the stories and wait for the spirit
Cool.
box recording tomorrow too, if you want.
Yeah.
It's your tour. You do what you want. I'm just here to teach and train and show you guys a good time.
Cool. Nothing yet.
Nope. Sorry.
So that's not an easy job.
Yeah.
What she's doing. It is.
Is it like common for nothing yet? Like
No.
is it-
It's
oh, it's not common. Oh,
what I will tell you is that some people just have a hard time hearing.
yeah.
Like, it's just not in their nature to separate the sounds quick enough to be able to decipher
Yeah.
what the message might actually be.
Would we be able to switch jobs?
Yeah.
You want to switch? Do you want to
Yeah,
watch this?
because you might be able to hear it better.
Yeah.
Just because you have better listening
Giving him
skills.
pink earbuds, just so you know.
Oh.
Sorry, babe.
Huh.
So I just turn it, right?
Nope, you're good right where you're at.
Good.
Just make sure that cord is facing to the left.
Just because I haven't heard anything yet. And you just kept it like this.
Your hand's right in front of the camera.
Oh,
The camera's on the lower left-hand side.
Sorry.
There you go.
okay.
Everybody does that. That's not an issue. So the volume for you is not, it's the wheel right
This
next
way?
to the button. So this way we'll turn it down. This way we'll turn it up.
So it's bad that
I
I
hear
haven't
lyrics.
heard anything.
Not necessarily. It's
Okay.
just a matter of what your skill set is, I guess.
Okay.
So it's not that you didn't hear anything. You
Okay.
just didn't know what you were listening for.
Okay.
So, I mean, we've had that thing on for probably 8 or 9 minutes now. I
Okay.
guarantee you I find at least 3 or 4 things that might be relevant to the space between a football player and Big Red Barn when
Okay.
I go through it tomorrow.
Okay.
So, let's give Ben a minute or two just to get used to what it sounds like.
Is it louder?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
So wait, what am I listening? I'm just like listening because I'm listening. I hear lyrics.
Oh. That's awkward.
Why? Not at all. Not to mention you took a 100 proof shot. I was almost expecting that.
Yeah.
So anything you hear, so any type of words, whether it's from the song lyric or the DJ or the commercial,
So any words that like are enunciated really well. Okay.
or
Do you hear-
anything you can make out.
Yeah, like I hear like Mexican music,
Really?
rap. Yeah.
I didn't hear
'Cause
it.
it's flipping through the stations.
Yeah.
Wow.
So any words that are enunciated,
So
or any
ev-
words that I can make
So
out
for
at all.
example, Christmas time, what color is the Big Red Barn? Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. I don't
Yeah.
need Rudolph the Nosed Reindeer. I just need
Rudolph.
red.
Yeah.
It's going to pick up words before and after. So if you hear even phrases, like parts of phrases.
I heard dead. Dead was kind of enunciated.
How
There
did
go.
you hear that?
It's
Yeah.
like all static, but you gotta like just.
You
pay
got to
attention.
listen through the static.
I'm embarrassed. Sorry.
Don't be.
That's my fault. We should have just switched. Ah.
What's funny is I normally give spirit boxes to females because they're way more chatty,
Yeah.
and they tend to hear more. But with her having a drink in her, especially as strong as she did, I should have known better. And it's
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
offense against
No,
you.
that's okay. Sorry.
This
Yeah, we
actually
just had
happened.
to pay for something to get into the bathroom.
My last group I had, which was Saturday. It was a couple, just like you guys. Another cancellation, so I just took
Okay.
one couple out, and the wife was by the end of the tour. She was,
Oh, she was drinking while the tour was going on.
I think so.
Oh,
really?
shoot.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, we don't have any alcohol on us.
Well,
This
it was
sounds
just a matter of
weird.
like the husband looked at me and then, basically threw me a tip and said, "Hey, I got to get her back to the room." I'm like, "No problem, man. Have a good
Yeah.
night."
Gotcha.
So, I mean, we really barely got to finish the tour.
Yeah.
Like that's how bad it got. So. I'm still super surprised that Bulldog recommended me. Sorry.
That's okay.
I just think it's absolutely hysterical. 2.5 years that I've been fighting,
Yep.
inconspicuously with them about like me booking my tours versus them on the jail tour because
Yeah.
that's the only thing in town that was even close to the jail, and most people would rather do this anyway. So let's talk about another. This is kind of the next level. Over there, I'm not going to be giving you questions on the spirit box like what color was George Washington's white horse, right? Like you're going to get the answers from your spirit box.
Okay.
So let's talk about the history here because this goes way deep. This is just an empty parking lot. Well, it's not empty. It's got a few cars in it. But this space used to be the Eliza and Charles Pinckney mansion site. So their house actually faced East Bay Street.
Okay.
And it was broad, and I'll explain why that's significant here in a moment. But it sat facing there. Eliza's garden was right behind Five Church Restaurant and came all the way across. And we're standing in the sort of slave quarters where they Eliza and Charles had a son named Charles, and they had a nephew named Charles. That's 3 different Charleses. You see why I always need a secondary clue?
Yep.
The son and the nephew were signers of the
I'm
Constitution.
dead.
You keep hearing dead.
Yeah, that's weird.
It is super weird.
You heard words?
Yeah.
I didn't hear anything. I just
I
heard
think you had the
steps.
volume so low because I hear literally every like 2 seconds it's a different channel. It's like static channel, static channel, static channel.
You may have had it just too low.
Yeah.
And again,
Okay,
trying to
so-
separate it quickly.
No, it's okay. You just
So, son and the nephew, signers of the Constitution. Pretty big deal for us, but you guys don't give a shit about South Carolina politics, and I don't want to talk about politics either. So, Eliza married Charles at a young age. You can ask how old she was, and that's according to today's standards of being young, not colonial times of the time period that she came from. So, She married Charles at a young age. Charles was over double her age when they got married, just so you can have an idea of what kind of numbers you're looking for.
Okay.
She married him because her father over in England thought he was dying, and she didn't think he was dying, so she stayed put, and she got married instead. Now, that didn't give her a green card or citizenship because it's 1744, so there's no such thing as green cards and citizenship yet. We're not even a country yet.
Yeah.
So she married him. Dad got better. He starts sending her gifts over from England to this space. One of those gifts happened to be the plant indigo. Indigo is a plant that makes blue dye that makes our blue jeans blue. None of us have it on right now, but that's what we use it for today. So she learned how to experiment with it here because it's obviously not warm here all the time. She had to learn from her slaves how to keep it going. Once she learned that, she moved it to a plantation just north of here in Mount Pleasant. Calls her dad and says, I need some contacts in order to be able to sell this stuff because the rice plantations are going to shit. Not really. That's not what she said, but you get my gist. So, with that, he gives her some contacts, and now we have an international businesswoman during colonial times. This is a huge deal for South Carolina and the colonies, because it pretty much saved the colonies from going down under and being taken over by England. So, let's get into the weird stuff, because that's why you guys are here. Eliza was the second wife named Eliza from Charles, back to back. So one wife died, 6 months later, he marries this Eliza. Ironically, both Elizas have a maiden name that starts with the letter L. So, if you want to find out which Eliza we're dealing with, ask her maiden name. You can ask anything you want to about Eliza's death. She's pretty open. So, how old were you, Eliza, when you died? Where are you buried? What did you die from? And what U.S. president was a pallbearer at your funeral? So, these are pretty significant questions, and obviously they're not yes or no questions like what I told you about back there. The children, there's more than one. The first one I told you about, Charles, who was a signer of the Constitution, but there are more. You can ask how many kids and what their names are, but the rest of it, leave it alone. I'll know if other clues are popping up. There's a tragedy among those children that she does not want to talk about, and all activity will stop. Do I have any readings on that meter, by the way?
Other side. This one?
It should have some blinking lights.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, this is also a space where they've never done an archaeological dig, so there's no wiring underneath us to make that thing go off. So, if we were near parking meters and things like that, it should go off, but we are standing on ground that has never been dug up. So there's no reason for it to go off. I told you about the kids. Oh, the mansion. You can ask what happened to it. Obviously, it's not here anymore. And then you can ask when that tragedy happened. Yes, I'm giving you a clue that it was a tragedy. So, that tragedy likes to pop through on your spirit box a lot. So we'll kind of see what happens as we kind of peruse through here. I think that about covers the basis of things to remember of what to ask when you're going through those, listening to your spirit box. I haven't checked online here in a few minutes, so we'll kind of see what's going on with that one. But we're going to stay on this slot for a good 5 to 10 minutes, depending on how much activity we get. Again, remember, you're acting like you're not a camera person, because there is somebody parked in a car over here.
Sorry.
So, yeah, you just want to be casually holding a cell phone at this point. And again, here comes somebody probably going to their car, so if they thought we were filming, probably be a screaming match, wouldn't be the first time. So I just don't like to go through it.
Yep.
I know it's kind of weird, but if I was a car thief, that would be my first tool, because I know how long every car's been here based on its heat signature.
Right.
So I know. I teach kids how to be car thieves. But what have you heard on your spirit box since we've been standing here?
I heard the Bruno Mars song.
Which Bruno Mars? He's written a lot.
Sing it. Have you heard a lot? Oh wow. Look at that.
So nothing that I can see so far that's relevant. Apple. So let me tell you why Apple's relevant.
Yeah.
Is that what you heard?
Yeah, just now.
So we talked about a president was a pallbearer.
Yep.
Which president is associated with apples?
I want to say Johnny Appleseed, but he's not the president.
I don't know.
Washington.
Oh, really? Holy crap.
How is he related to apples?
Well, first off, he lived basically on an apple farm.
Oh, really?
And Martha used to make him apple pies because it was one of his favorites.
Holy shit.
Yeah, apple shows up here a lot. So, and again, I didn't tell you that, nor did you know which president. So,
wow.
Take that for what it's worth.
That's cool.
I will be definitely writing that one down here in a sec. And now we have the word Mars. Okay. That makes no sense, though.
No, it really doesn't.
But
Apple.
these are the little clues that I look for when we're kind of going through this kind of stuff.
That's
but
cool.
You've heard so far that I'm dead, And what color lights were going off on that guy?
Orange and red.
Looks like orange and red, or yellow and red.
So 20 to 25 milligauss on that guy. And then you heard I'm dead. Bad. You got that one? I don't know where that person went in their car. And she just went to go take a break. Let's kind of move over to that wall and kind of see if you get any other terms that pop up. Because back here in the slave and servant quarters, I
I'm
think,
kind of like listening to you and this, so
It's-
I
I
might
know,
have missed
that-
something.
yeah. So in the slave and servant quarters, if something does pop up, I can't prove it because there's no records.
Yeah.
So
If she's got to go to the bathroom, do you have a recommendation?
candy shop's closed. I noticed that on the way here. Nick, do you need to go now?
I can wait a little bit.
Okay, because we're gonna pass up Mac's place.
That's
and,
fine.
I just got the word British.
Oh, interesting.
You hear that? Or does you?
It just pops up on the app,
Hmm.
and it says Daddy no, and then British. Her father lived in England.
That's cool.
Do you see how I have to piece this shit together?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like that's.
Did you go to school?
What's that?
Did you go to school?
Mhm.
For what?
I have a master's in creative writing, a bachelor's in journalism, and a bachelor's in English.
That's cool.
Why are you asking?
No, I was just wondering. I don't know. I thought like history or like criminal justice.
That would've been cool.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I've been contemplating is going and getting another bachelor's, but in tourism.
Yeah.
I didn't have this career. I've only been doing this for 2.5 years as far as the tours go.
Okay.
So far, so good.
As far as the, like my previous career, I was in retail management for over 20 years.
Oh,
So,
shit.
yeah, that's the reason why I left.
Yeah.
To be happy. But
Where'd you work before this?
I was one of the higher managers for Walmart.
Walmart. Nice.
So I was pretty high up on the scale.
Okay.
I just walked away.
Yep.
Just couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
I did too.
We are saved.
Let's
That's good.
walk away from. Looks like he's just going into his car. Just be careful not to film him.
Yep.
But usually when something like that comes up, it's like, what else can it be related to?
Mm-hmm.
Because it could be just part of a sentence that I need to piece together between multiple spirit boxes. So if he heard that, and then somebody else said from war, we are saved from war.
Yeah.
So that would make sense to me. However, we don't have multiple spirit boxes. Somebody else listening. We just have my word list one going.
Okay.
So if we had multiple, I mean, does it do the same exact thing? So they'll be hearing the same exact thing?
Nope.
Oh,
They're not synced up.
Cool.
Gotcha.
So when I actually have two of those, where one, I usually only have one recording going, so that way you're not getting too much back, because that could be a little overwhelming. But in real time, if you heard that and somebody else heard from war, I definitely have to write down what the
We
other
are
person
saved from
heard, so that way I can piece it together.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Gotcha.
It says effect. Still not getting anything over here.
Fire
What happened to the mansion?
burnt down.
Burned down.
Damn.
Eliza, tell us what year it actually burnt down. Can you tell us what year it was? Told you that one pops up a lot. That's almost a given. I can almost say that's a guarantee that you're going to find out what happened to the mansion. Eliza, can you tell us what year the fire happened that burned down your beautiful home that we're now standing in the middle of?
Oh, heat wave.
So one night, some girl heard "drop it like it's hot" and was cracking up laughing. I'm like, so what were you asking? I asked what happened to the mansion. It dropped like it was hot on fire.
Holy shit.
I was like, so again, that's why you guys keep me around, to keep those outside the box thinking going, because it's not always going to be literal. But heat wave, yeah, I would say that for sure. Eliza, we want to know what year it was. Can you tell us what year the mansion burned down?
'76.
But so remember I told you about the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer thing?
Yeah.
So 76, you have to say 70 in order to say 76. So
Okay.
it's not like 11 where you have to say 10 to get 11. It's 70-6. Eliza was 70 years old when she died. And that was in 1793. So you're
That's
getting
when it
answers.
burned down.
No,
Oh.
that was just when she died.
She died in 76?
No, 93. 1793, but she was 70 years old in 1793.
Gotcha. Thank God they give you a change with you, because
Yeah. This is kind of cool.
I would not be able to hear any of that, actually.
Let's go over to that other corner now, and let's see if we can get anything else before I break it today. Getting good stuff. Like, this is...
Good.
Yeah.
Just kind of give it a minute over here, because I know you got to use the restroom, and
I
I'll get you
do.
guys the answers. So you can still listen, I'll give you guys the answers, because obviously you got to use the restroom. Liza was 70, 1793. When she got married to Charles, he was 22.
Okay.
He was 45. So, over double her age. 4 kids. Number 4 normally shows up here quite often. Charles, signer of the Constitution. Then you had Thomas, Revolutionary War hero. He actually fought in the Battle of Camden. Got shot in his left leg and then was captured after that. So anything related to Thomas will show up here as well. Baby George is one I asked you not to poke the bear with.
Okay.
So George, we don't know how old he was exactly, but their death certificate basically says that he was born and died in the same
Oh, I
year.
just heard George.
Well, we're dealing with 3 different Georges here. Even though you had Apple to relate to
Wait, that was weird.
Washington.
Yeah.
So, dealing with 3 different Georges. So, George, there's no grave for baby George. We don't know where he's at. Could possibly be that they kept the baby mummified here to be buried with mom after she passed away. One daughter, Harriet, her daughter actually married in Horry. Myrtle Beach is Horry County. That's just north of here, about 2 hours, a little over.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't have been a 2.5-hour car ride to go see her daughter. Lots of letter writing. So there would have anything dealing with Harriet when she does show up, which is very seldom. Things around letter writing, so ink, paper, pen, published. All of those things will pop up. Mansion burned down in 1861. That's the Great Fire of 1861. Now the Great Fire, it's a big deal because every tour guide's going to tell you about a Great Fire, whatever year it happened.
Yeah.
This one started up the street, came down here, took out half the mansion, and then literally went to the other side of the peninsula. Like, this was a giant fire. This was almost 70 years after Eliza's death. 68 years, to be exact. Let's see, what else? What else did I give you? Oh, Eliza's death. So Eliza's 70.
I keep hearing baby. But it's
Heard.
it's little baby saying, it's the baby. Yeah.
So if you're hearing that and you had the name George, then
Yeah.
you're obviously telling us which one.
Huh.
Interesting.
That's cool.
You know, like how little baby goes, it's the baby.
Yeah.
And it's, yeah. That's like the second time that's happened. I don't know why I didn't say that.
But you probably didn't think it
Now
was
I
relevant.
know it. Now, yeah.
Probably didn't think it was relevant at all.
Couple of months.
So what it's saying?
I don't know. I'm just saying the words that I hear
Yeah.
enunciated.
And people do that.
Something
like, they'll just
for
shout
everyone.
things out at me and
Oh.
wait for me to see if there's a relation.
Yeah. Do you
if
want me to do that or no?
You can.
Oh.
If there's a relation, I'll tell you why. If not, I'm going to just keep talking.
Yeah.
Eliza died of cancer.
Okay.
Breast cancer, to be exact. At the time, they didn't know what the hell was wrong with her because there was no such thing as breast cancer in 1793.
Yeah.
We're going based off her medical records. She was going to Philadelphia for treatments. That's where she died. That's where she's buried. Stories in a Cemetery, the tour, doesn't take you to actual cemeteries because you're not going to be hanging around where your gravesite is when you're gone. You're going to go to your mansion 600 miles away, which is why we come to places like this and we get the evidence like what Ben's hearing tonight, and obviously the certain things that I've gotten out of this guy. So, very interesting. I did play a little trick on you guys when we got over here. I did tell you I wasn't going to give you questions like what color is George Washington's white horse, George Washington being obviously one of the answers to the questions that we were asking. So I do that on purpose to see who's going to be subliminal messaging, who's subject to it, who's not. I do it on purpose, especially when I have my large groups of 10. It's the only game I play as far as wordplay for you guys.
What was the game you were playing? Sorry, I'm listening to this.
I know, it's hard.
Yeah.
So when we got here, I told you I'm not going to give you any questions like what color is George Washington's white horse.
Yeah.
I do that on purpose to put George Washington in the back of your brain to see if you hear George Washington out of the spirit boxes. You have to remember, I hand out 4 different spirit boxes.
Okay.
So
I can have this in a pocket, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So what's going to happen from here is we're going to go to Lodge Alley, but along the way we're going to stop at Max so you can use the restroom.
Yep. Sorry.
Nope, you're good. It's your tour. Again, doesn't bother me one bit. Lodge Alley, I want you listening for names. If you hear any names along the way, I want to know what they are.
Okay.
I'll let you know. I'm not going to tell you if they're male or female or anything like that. I'll let you know if what you've heard is anything relevant to the place that we're going to. Now, over here, I will say that these are intelligent ghosts here, so we do get direct answers. Obviously, you've heard quite a few just from us talking about them.
Okay.
The place where we're going is residual, so it's almost like watching a movie. They're not going to answer us if we ask them questions. That's why I'm waiting for their names to pop up to kind of let me know. I always hear the same names, and I'll let you know what they are once we get there. I don't want to put it in the back of your brain.
Okay.
Let's get you to a restroom.
Yep. Sounds good to me.
You can go ahead and stop your video.
Stop it.
Sorry, she's got like literally the world's smallest bladder.
Good.
Just to get a little bit of footage. This isn't a long stop, but I do like to stop here so you guys know the layout of the land a little bit. When we crossed that last crosswalk coming over East Bay Street, that was where the original Charlestown walls used to be.
Okay.
This is one of the first streets we ever had. So the reason why I asked for names, did you hear any?
Search,
No.
Sunshine,
No.
and no names, really.
The reason why I asked for them is because people used to live here. I have the full list of residents of every person that's ever lived down here. The interesting thing is, with tonight's group, is that the name I normally hear is Benjamin and John.
Wow.
So, Benjamin and John both lived here in 1801. So the interesting thing about that is that it's only 2 out of 5 people that live down here. So there's a pretty good odds that every 6 to 7 weeks when I hear those same 2 names, I think we're on week 3 or 4 of the rotation of 6 to 7 weeks. So I really wasn't expecting it tonight, so it is what it is. But when I do get those names, I don't find it uncommon or uncanny or coincidental that it's the same 2 names over and over and over again.
Okay.
The other things I hear down here from Spirit Box is different kinds. Before people lived here, there was a Masonic Lodge, which is why it's called Lodge Alley. So, Freemasons. With that, we do get the terms Freemason, Mason, Brick, Illuminati. Anything related to Freemasons will pop up here.
Okay.
Not a whole lot. We get more so of the names and the things that actually happen down here. Now, they did do an archaeological dig underneath these bricks. These are Belgian blocks, by the way, so let me get into that for a second. Belgian blocks are made from pure granite, so they're straight from the earth. They say that things that are straight from the earth, like granite and limestone that are stuck in place, can hang on to the consciousness of memories, which is why I told you this is residual. So I feel like after 2.5 years of getting the same clues night after, well, every 6 to 7 weeks, that it's coming straight from these blocks that we're walking on. These are original, 1735. So, the archaeological dig, when they did go underneath here, they did find some of these people's clothing and some of their tools and silverware, and they were able to classify these people as lower class.
Okay.
Now, it makes sense because the other part of the wall would have been across the street on East Bay over here. The smell of low tide would have been coming over here, and if you haven't smelled low tide yet, you don't want to live with it. So these people, they couldn't get away from it. Not to mention these were shotgun houses. These 2 giant buildings weren't here. These were little tiny houses, 1 to 2 rooms only. So I told you guys about the Pinckney Mansion being broad on the street. That was a big deal back then because I'm sure if you've been down to the Battery, have you guys gone down to the Battery yet?
That's the Forge, right, or something
Where
like that.
where basically the peninsula comes to a point.
Yes.
Where you see the houses are skinny in the front
Yeah.
and they go long back.
Yep.
The reason for that is because you were taxed on how much street you took up. So the Pinckneys being their broadside was facing the road, they were basically saying, we have money, we don't care how much you're going to tax us, we'll pay it because we can afford it. It was bragging rights. Now down there, it's for two reasons. They didn't want to pay all the taxes, but they also didn't want the smell of low tide coming through, so we have piazzas, basically a front porch with a door. So the door blocks the smell of low tide coming through at a low end. They open up the top window in the second story, and it brings the cool air in, and then it circulates through the whole house because we didn't have air conditioning. So there's reasons why the houses down here are laid out the way they are.
Mm-hmm.
So this particular space, they didn't have any of those luxuries. All they get is the smell of low tide coming straight in from the wharf. So, very interesting space. I'm not surprised you didn't hear any names, but again, this kind of helps with the layout of the rest of our night.
Yeah, for sure.
As we get through the rest of this, obviously keep recording, but you're going to stop the recording once we exit the alley because we're going to be in a neighborhood. We're going to be just cutting through because I'm literally right on the edge of where I'm allowed to take you. So
Okay.
we're going to go look at another alley, but I can't take you through that one because I've been kicked out of it.
Oh. Yeah. So when we get out, stop recording.
Yeah, you got
Okay.
it. But I'm still going to tell the story of the other alley because it is magnificent, and we still get a shit ton of evidence out of that particular story when we're just nearby it because it's that strong of a story. So let's go see what else we can catch. As you can see, I don't like to go to all of the typical places that other ghost tours like to go to.
Yeah.
But as we get closer to the church up there, you're going to see some other tours. And I kind of split it half and half. So
Okay.
that way, when I have my tours that you guys come into town, you get to see some different spaces that the other tours won't show you. Not to mention that you're doing something completely different that the other tours aren't doing. And then at the end, you do get a little bit more sightseeing type stuff. That's new. Doing a lot of renovations. Now this is Lodge Alley Inn. So this is kind of like a blue-green rental. So what's the word I'm looking for? Anyway, it's a hotel, and every hotel has claims of ghosts. They just don't give me free rooms to verify them.
Yep.
So this upcoming summer, the wife and I and my co-host, we're going to be renting all the haunted rooms around town. So we have more podcast episodes, either proving or debunking what they got going on.
Yep.
So,
Feels a little weird to walk on this.
yeah. Yeah, it's definitely uneven from all the water. We are below sea level here, so
Right.
I'm sure at one point these were all completely level.
Yeah.
Do you want me to stop recording here?
Go ahead and stop your recording now.
Keep listening though.
Yeah.
Ruin my shoes.
All right, this is our last stop. This is a crazy, crazy ass story. So, kick her in the ass
Yeah.
might actually make sense once I get going. I told you we're going to run into a lot of tours here. And the reason why I come over to the corner, we are going to talk about that building where they're standing over there, but a lot of tours like to cut through here. So I just got in the habit of stay out of everybody's way until we can start investigating. The building over there with the crosses on it, first off, those are not crosses. Those are earthquake bolts. I
Oh.
told you about our big earthquake of 1886.
Yeah.
Earthquake bolts, the gist of those is that they're on turnbuckles. So if we have another earthquake, which we haven't, you can tighten them slowly and it will straighten the building back up. It's a great concept, it just doesn't work. The reason why I bring up these ones is because it's the very first set of earthquake bolts that Charlestown put in. So this is the oldest government building in South Carolina. This is the powder magazine. So it held gunpowder for 7 different wars. I told you about the Charlestown walls earlier. The reason I do that is so I can set you up for this. Behind you, that's Cumberland Street. That's where the original Charlestown wall used to be. It went up past the powder magazine and started going south towards the battery. It's literally locked into the corners of the wall on purpose.
Female. Kick her in the ass.
It's gonna be good. So this, I'll be honest, like this is normally a very big hit as far as data coming
This?
through,
Yeah.
or it's a very big miss.
Okay.
You never know. So this building was locked in the corners on purpose because if it got attacked by a cannon from ships, whether from pirates or any other adversaries, it would have a hard time reaching it because it's so far inland. So they pushed it as far as they could go inside the walls. So if it goes through those walls, they're 32 inches thick. So if it goes all the way through and blows up the gunpowder, there's sand in the roof underneath those shingles from 1712 that's supposed to blow up with the explosion and fall to put out the fire of the gunpowder. The sand is still there because sand doesn't disintegrate, and this building has never been attacked. It sounds like it's a great idea as well, but that also does not work. We had another powder magazine closer to the battery, and what happened is it did get attacked. Sand went up, it fell, building burned to the ground. So it no longer exists. This one still sits here because it's never been hit. The reason why I bring up all that history about the building is because during its construction, it took 10 years to build it. 1703 to 1713.
Storyteller? Kind of weird.
Do they know that you're a tour guide?
Who's that?
These
Like, do
people?
you know all the other tour guides?
Oh, no.
Oh.
Oh, so they have no idea who you are?
No, that's why I was surprised when you guys said Bulldog recommended.
Yeah, right?
Huh.
I don't know. That's weird.
Sorry.
Yeah, I have literally one friend in this industry, and there are probably hundreds of tour guides around town. I have one guy that I go to.
And it's called Bulldog, right? Like, I'm not...
No, that's the name of
what
their
it's
company,
called, right?
Bulldog
Yeah,
Tours.
okay.
Yeah, the one guy that I go to, his name is Mike, and the only reason I'm friends with him is because he called me to interview me for his podcast on a story he was doing, and I had some relevant information on the location. And I still, like, I take his tour, I don't know, once a year, just to kind of refresh on some of the extra history.
Yeah.
And he's been doing it for like 26 years.
Yeah.
Spinning?
No.
Do you want me to keep, like, blurting it out to you?
You can.
Okay, I don't mean to, like, cut you off.
You're
No,
not-
just keep
I
doing
expect
what
it.
you said.
Yeah.
So in the middle of its construction is when our story begins. So
Okay.
in the middle of the decade. So 1708, a young lady moves here by the name of Anne Cormack. She comes here from Ireland. She's here with her dad and his mistress. The mistress is her mother.
Oh.
Yes. Yeah. There's more twists. Yeah,
Yeah.
hang on. This is a bumpy ride. The three of them are getting away from his angry wife. You guys with me so far?
Yep.
Okay, so rumor had it Anne was kind of a badass when she was back in Ireland, that she actually killed one of her servants with a knife to the belly. You did hear knives earlier.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm starting to put all that together. So, I don't know where he's going, but we can actually go closer to that building, I guess. I don't know, we'll wait for him to cut through. But anyway, once they get here, Dad buys a plantation, Mom dies pretty quick. So now he's got to start sending young Anne down here to Charlestown to sell anything from the plantation and to be able to keep things afloat. So, and we're here because this is a familiar building. We don't have many buildings this old.
Yeah.
There's very few. And I told you this is the oldest government building. So, again, we have one building that's alleged older than this, but it's not government. So, the building is familiar. Spinning. Sorry. Just
It's
put two
okay.
and two together. Where was I? Oh, so we're going to fast forward. The building's done in 1713. In 1715, pirates are coming through town, including guys like Steve Bonnet. He's starting to get his business together. But Anne, knowing her mindset of kind of a killer when she was a kid, she's pretty stoked. She falls in love pretty quickly. The guy she falls in love with, his name is James Bonny. Dad doesn't approve because he's a filthy pirate. So they run away to Jamaica. They get married. Anne Cormack becomes Anne Bonny, your most famous female pirate of the Golden Age. Now, Anne, when they get down there, realizes that Bonnie is not the guy that she wanted. This isn't Captain Jack Sparrow. He's not a drunken rum guy. So he's a privateer. He's a spy for the British. So she falls in love again a few years later. The guy's name then is John Rackham. We're on guy number 2. I'll keep tally. John Rackham has an alias. He goes by Calico Jack. Calico Jack is the Captain Jack Sparrow that she wanted, has his own ship, and she wants to be part of it. But females curse pirate ships. You can't have a girl on the crew. So he makes a deal with her. If you dress like the guys and hide your gender, you can be part of the crew. You're just going to be a female in my quarters. Because he's the captain. I'm just going to put it out there. So with that, she's okay with this because Dad used to hide her as a boy back home in Ireland to keep her away from his wife. So she's like, whatever, let's do this. I'm a pirate. Being a female in his quarters, she eventually gets pregnant. 2 and 2 together. So, cannot have a pregnant pirate guy on the crew. Somebody's going to figure it out. So he drops her off in Cuba. Go have the baby. Come back later. We'll figure it out. She gets dropped off. She has the baby. Returns with no kid. We have no idea what happened to the baby.
Oh.
She's also dressed like a girl. She doesn't care anymore about hiding her gender. This makes Jack pretty pissed off. He just captured another pirate crew and they're down below deck. And she's going to go flirting to make Jack even more mad. We're on guy number 3. The guy she's flirting with turns out to be a female, just like a guy, to be part of the crew that Calico Jack just captured.
So
now
she's lesbian?
No.
Oh.
We have 2 females dressed like men doing the exact same thing, trying to get their freedoms in the pirate world. There is speculation that her and Mary became lovers, but it's speculation.
Gotcha.
So, she convinces this young lady, whose name was Mary Reed, to become part of the crew. Her and Mary are the only two drunk enough to not, come up and fight when the British find out where they are and send their entire fleet after them. They're coming after one pirate ship. It's Anne and Mary fighting off an entire fleet of ships with one-bullet muskets. Obviously, they're going to get taken. So, as they're being arrested, Anne looks at Jack and says, "You should have fought like a man instead of going down like a dog." So the dog will show up here from time to time. That's a big key word here.
Pregnant?
Get that all the time. So with that, the judge, his name is Nicholas as well. Nicholas Laws wants to see the two men by themselves. He wants to know why they fought back. He already takes Jack and the men that he had below deck, and he tries and hangs them, so they're dead and gone. The two ladies go in front. They reveal their gender. The judge doesn't care that they're female. He's still going to hang them anyway. So they plead their bellies, meaning they're both claiming to be pregnant. You cannot hang a pregnant woman in 1720. It's illegal. So he sends them both back to jail, delays the hanging. Dad is still here in Charlestown with all of his Irish money, and he bails out Anne, brings her back home. She remarries guy number 4, because yes, we're going to count Mary Reed, has 4 kids, and dies at the age of 84. What we know after her pirate career is very, very little, if any of it is even true. As far as Mary Reed, she died a year later in the Jamaican jail from whatever pirates die from in a Jamaican jail in 1721. So this story has a lot of holes in it. The 2 questions I normally give people when I have them spread out and start asking their spirit box questions are the only 2 things I can prove are the name of Anne Bonny's parents, what their names were, and the name of Calico Jack's ship. So, I think we're going to have another tour cutting through here. Wonderful. So,
Gotta have a gang war.
now this is normally where I tell people, because the type of story that it is, this is a level 3, to where you can ask anything you want to.
Okay.
So, because there's too many holes in the story of things that I just can't prove. There are a lot of little tours coming out, huh? I don't know that that's a tour. These people just might be cutting through.
Yeah.
But this is, I told you before, where people actually get sick and may have passed out on my tour.
Yeah.
This one actually makes sense to the story. So, back over the summer, I brought my team back here, just like I normally do. It's very busy around here, and I have a young man next to me who starts to pass out, like white as a ghost, drops to the ground. I pick him up by the armpit. His boyfriend picks him up from the other side. I carry him over to that wall where the tour group was standing, have him sit down because there was a little ledge there. I send the boyfriend over to the garage to go get him a bottle of water. He comes back. I then tell the story after he's feeling better. They don't know the story yet. After I send everybody out with all their devices, they pull me aside and say, "Nick, we need to tell you something." "What's going on?" "You guys okay? Feeling better?" He's like, "We are 2 transgender males. We are 2 females dressed like males." It makes complete sense of why Ash about passed out before you even told the story.
Holy shit.
That's the kind of stuff that happens on my groups. That's why I give the warnings at the beginning, because I never know. Psychics normally don't make it through this tour. They just won't. Especially depending on the time of year and the moon phase. There are just some nights they're just like, "Yeah, no, I need an ambulance."
Holy shit.
I called them. It happens. I also know CPR. First time a psychic passed out on me, I was in CPR class the next day. Like, shit, this is going to get dangerous if I don't watch what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So, we are going to go ahead and get close to the wall over there.
Okay.
And then kind of see what happens out of your spirit box. Give me the terms that you heard again. We heard pregnant, we heard female.
Pregnant, female, kick her in the ass.
That was something that well.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're still across the street. We can
That's
still hear
true.
things from Philadelphia Alley over here.
You're right.
Haven't really heard much. It's a lot of static over here, if I'm going to be completely honest.
No, you should be honest. We heard female.
2 transgender people passed out. Or 1, right? You said?
Just 1.
Holy crap.
But it was a couple.
Yeah.
There were 2 transgender males dating. Take it for what it's worth.
So, they're
Yeah.
gay.
What,
Right? Yes.
Wait.
so,
2
biologically, they would be lesbians.
Yep.
But
Now they're gay. Right?
but if
I just like to use the term homosexual because then it doesn't put a pronoun to it.
yeah.
Okay.
Because homosexuality is just loving the same gender.
Wait,
Okay.
what is it? Hold on.
So
They were 2. I'm sorry.
So 2 males.
two transgender. So they were transitioning into
Female.
males.
Oh, male.
Oh,
sorry.
so they were girls. Gotcha.
Dressed
I
like-
thought you meant Okay.
Do you see why the
Now I
story
got
of
it.
Anne Bonny and Mary Read dressed
Yeah.
like males
Yes.
makes sense
Huh.
to that?
Yes.
Interesting. Now I get it. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Interesting.
Holy shit.
It's like all static right
Okay.
here.
Well, let's do just do one little quick lap. We'll end up over there at the wall. We can sit down for a minute to make sure that your alcohol effect. It seems like you're getting better.
Yeah, I'm getting better.
Yeah,
I'm
you're,
good.
you're not slurring so much. So that's good.
Yeah.
You were slurring pretty good there for a
Yeah,
minute.
I'm so sorry.
We should have just spent like, yeah, can we just get a Sprite or something?
Oh, look at that.
Psychic.
Holy crap.
That's pretty weird.
So when you look at that baby. What else do we have here?
I hear oh, Jesus Christ, I just heard.
We always get biblical terms, anything
Yeah.
religious around here because of the church. You may hear Philip here too, since you've already heard something somewhat religious. That's St. Philip's Church.
Mm-hmm.
So the name Philip will show up here from time to time.
That's crazy.
Just got the chills. Oh yeah, I see now that they aren't crosses. You couldn't see that from far away because the palms. Couldn't see the bottom of it.
Well, if you look at the shingles, like there's something about the way that they're made. I want to say that they're actually made like on somebody's leg as the clay is hot.
Yeah.
Oh,
They keep-
maybe, yeah.
They keep leather over their leg, and they actually, I mean, those things they're sand in there from 1712. Like, that's ridiculous. The sand doesn't disintegrate. They probably just shoot from the beach right up here.
Yeah.
So, the word fist just came up, and I don't think I've ever seen that word show up before. Just very.
Not too much. Just the Jesus Christ I heard.
And a lot of times looking at this list, like on my computer, like as a whole, in the order that it shows up, because right now it's reversed. Sometimes it's like you could see things in there like, oh, that makes sense with this word. You can almost make little sentences out of
Yeah.
it.
Okay.
Extremely scared.
Okay.
Ghost tour.
Are you extremely scared?
Got the like the little shivers walking through that tree.
Again, Anne is said to be seen all over town. So Anne Bonny.
Is
That's-
this your Anne?
No.
That's
Oh.
the female pirate. She was the main character in the story. So she's said to be seen all over town. But this, I like to come here. First off, it's within the boundaries of where tour guides are allowed to take you. But it's the same area.
for the tour guides?
Oh, yeah.
What?
Yeah, that's why I can't go down Philadelphia.
Is it
Alley.
enforced
Yes.
by police? Or-
We have tourism officers.
What?
So you got
Oh.
like fake
So
tour
like security guards?
guests?
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow.
He is going to stop though. He might cut through. But they are. They'll go over the limits of where they're allowed to go, like a little bit. But
Like these people would?
So if we were to go out of bounds and a neighbor saw us,
Okay.
and because I'm an unlicensed guide too, so
Mhm.
it used to be that you had to actually have a license to be a tour guide. Like you had to know the history through and through and through and through, and you had to take a test. Like it was a big deal. It was like getting a business license.
Yep.
Well, they did away with that, and that's when I came in. So do I have the history book that they use for those guys? I do. Do I use it as a reference? Sure, probably. Read most of it. But at the same time, if a neighbor were to see us in a neighborhood where we weren't allowed to go, like when I got kicked out of Philadelphia Alley, I got a phone call the next day.
I guess I get the neighborhood part.
Yeah.
Like if neighbors wouldn't want their tour. I
Right.
mean, that's their
How
home.
did you tour guide though?
What's that?
How did you tour guide?
We're pretty obvious
Yeah.
to see.
Yeah, you can tell.
I mean, I got the backpack. I'm in front. I know where I'm going. You guys
Talking.
are walking around. You know what I mean? You're
People
following
listening.
me.
Yeah.
We're pretty easy to spot.
Yeah, that would
Gotcha.
kind of suck to live in a tourist town.
Yeah.
And I always have a Stories in a Cemetery shirt on, whether it's a hoodie, t-shirt, whatever. So I mean, he's like, "Where's your license at?" I'm like, "You know what? You don't need my license. My name's Nick. I work for Stories in a Cemetery. Call the office. Don't care."
Yeah.
Like, I just
Yeah.
kept going. But again, I got a phone call from my buddy down at the tourism office, and he's like, "Can you stop going all the way down Philadelphia?" I'm like, "I just won't go down at all."
Yeah.
I was like, I won't even bother.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So I was like, I can find a way to reroute it. The funny thing is I didn't believe this story at all. I told you that over there.
Yep.
The first night I was here was November 28th, 2020. Somebody heard the number 300. What the hell does that mean? We were at the exact 300 year anniversary of Anne and Mary's trial. It was
Oh,
November
shit.
28th, 1720. Like, you gotta be shitting me. And somebody
Yeah.
else heard the name Anne. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'm gonna keep coming back. So I read a shit ton of books on this lady. Vampires are my thing,
Yep.
not pirates. So
Not
I,
pirates.
I think vampires are pretty cool.
Yep.
Zombies are my thing, though.
Mm.
Walking Dead.
so since I was like
UFOs are my thing.
Yeah, show you serious.
7 years old, I've been into vampires.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like, that was always kind of my bag.
Mm-hmm.
You ever go across to like Transylvania and that kind of stuff? Not yet.
Not yet. I'm
You
sure
want
I'll
to?
get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do want to see, Castle Dracula.
Yeah.
I haven't even been to Louisiana. Like, down
Is there
in
a
New
lot
Orleans.
in Louisiana?
There's a whole culture, because that's where Anne Rice lived.
Okay.
And that's where Interview stemmed from. Like, it's
Sure.
all based out of, New Orleans. So, I would like to go down there and see that, especially since she just passed away. It's a pretty big deal.
How'd you get into this stuff?
Into this,
Yeah.
sheer curiosity, and
Yeah.
one of the books I was starting on was a psychic. It was just me and a psychic, no tools, just taking him to places that I thought could be haunted or had some claims of being haunted. And that was up in Myrtle Beach. When I moved down here, my new wife found all those chapters and said,
Mhm.
why don't we put this into a blog and see what happens?
Yeah.
So then we turned it into, it took off. So we turned it into a podcast. She came up with the logo because that's what she went to school for.
Get hung.
I like that one. And then somebody recruited me out of my retail job to come work for their company to do something like this. And I just kept evolving it and got away from him. And now I own it because Stories in a Cemetery was already my name anyway.
Right.
Gotcha.
So, I mean, we're still friends, and he still helps me out. And he's been in the industry a long time.
Are you the only one that does the tours, though? Gotcha.
I'm also the host of the podcast. I also write all the blog posts.
Cool.
My co-host is cool. Like, she's very hip to all of the technology, but she doesn't have the historical knowledge. So
Yeah.
we're always learning from each other, like,
Nice.
even on the podcast. And she's new to the podcast.
What's your podcast called?
Same thing.
Stories in Cemetery.
Stories in a Cemetery.
Gotcha.
So everybody asked me about the tools in the podcast after the tours are over. At the top of your data page, it's all at the top. So the podcast is there. You can listen to it straight from there, or it's on everything. And then everybody asked me about the equipment and what apps to use. Like I was going to recommend to you for where you work. There are apps you can use that will test certain things.
I'm gonna have to do that because I get bored sometimes.
So one thing I'll actually recommend for you, and I don't think it's listed up there, but it's called Ghost Tube. It's an
Right.
actual SLS camera, so it's like that Stickman camera.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, yeah. Where it's like you can see them like going like this. With,
Yeah.
Like the.
So
dots
that's the
and-
new piece we're adding, but it's
Yeah.
an actual SLS camera, not an app.
Interesting.
So it's pretty heavy and giant. Like I have to order it from the UK special just to get it here for the specifications that I want it for.
Interesting.
But for you at work, using that at work, it also has a spirit box in it where you can get words on it. Same
Ghost Tube?
Ghost Tube, just like YouTube with Ghost.
From the App Store, or is that
Yep.
cool?
Is it free?
Yep.
I might have to do that.
Yeah, you might.
I'm not gonna do that alone though. I'll have to call one of my coworkers.
And you can record it.
Yeah.
So if you start getting things, you can just hit that record button and get the footage.
Right.
And just have the footage.
So,
All right,
Yeah.
let me start collecting your beer.
do you want me to stop recording?
Yeah, you can.